Okay, it looks like people still might be trickling in, but we will go ahead and get started. So thank you all for joining tonight. We're thrilled to have you for tonight's presentation. My name is Jill Wirt, and I will be your MC for tonight. I am a project manager with Maui Nui Marine Resource Council. Tonight's webinar is featuring Ashley Hechavarria from the Marine Mammal Center, presenting on conservation of the Hawaiian monk seal, how efforts are saving a species. Maui Nui Marine Resource Council is celebrating 15 years of working for clean ocean water, healthy coral reefs, and abundant native fish. Our work wouldn't be possible without the support of viewers like you. Tonight's presentation is part of Maui Nui Marine Resource Council's monthly Know Your Ocean speaker series, usually held on the first Wednesday of each month at 5:30 p.m. via Zoom. This monthly series is supported by the County of Maui. Before we get started, I wanted to share a few announcements from Maui Nui Marine Resource Council. We invite you to join us in welcoming and congratulating our new Executive Director, Amy Hodges, and new Board Chair, Christina Lizzie. Amy has been with MNMRC for over 10 years as our Programs and Operations Manager and has now moved into the Executive Director role. Christina brings both local and international experience to her role with MNMRC from law school, both in the States and abroad, to her time as a judicial law clerk at the Hawaii Supreme Court. Mahalo to Robin Newbold and Mike Fogarty for all of their leadership, and we're so grateful that they will continue providing expertise and support to MNMRC. Over the past year, Maui Nui Marine Resource Council has worked with Environmental Solutions Maui to implement their product Soil Thrive in 3 test plots on Maui at McKenna Golf and Beach Club, Wailea Community Association, and County of Maui's Keopuolani Park. All 3 sites showed improved soil microbiology, reduced compaction, and the potential for water reduction, all without the use of synthetic landscaping inputs. You can download the report at mauireefs.org. We are also extending a huge congratulations to Royal Lahaina Resort and Honokeana Cove for achieving their silver level reef-friendly landscaping certifications. Both properties have removed all of the chemical landscaping products and have implemented reef-friendly practices such as utilizing compost instead of synthetic fertilizers and using essential oils in place of pesticides. For more information on how you can get involved and certified as a reef-friendly landscaping property, you can visit the Reef Friendly Landscaping page at mauireefs.org. You can support continued water quality monitoring by becoming a trained water quality sampling volunteer with Hui o Kawaiʻola. This community-based water quality monitoring program, launched and conducted by Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, the Nature Conservancy, and West Maui Ridge to Reefs Initiative in partnership with the State of Hawaii Department of Health Clean Water Branch, tests ocean water quality every 3 weeks at 29 locations in South and West Maui. If you are a Maui resident looking for more volunteer opportunities, this program is always seeking reliable West and South Maui volunteers. Visit huiokawaiʻola.com for more information. MNMRC staff recently collected Ulva lactuca, or sea lettuce, and it was dried and sent to a lab for nitrogen isotope testing. This sampling will inform which areas along South Maui have high levels of nutrients along the coast, and we look forward to sharing those results with you in the future. And now for tonight's presentation. We will leave time at the end of the presentation to answer your questions, and we invite you to submit questions by using the Q&A button on the lower edge of your screen. This presentation is being recorded and streamed to Facebook Live and will be available on all of our social profiles like YouTube and Facebook after we're done. So our speaker tonight is Ashley Hechavarria. She dispatches the Hawaiian monk seal sighting hotline on Maui Island and builds relationships with the Maui community. She brings over a decade of experience working as a naturalist and wildlife biologist, specializing in marine mammal rehabilitation and release in Florida, as well as coordinating conservation efforts on Maui. She earned her BS in environmental science and policy from the University of South Florida, where she also aided in marine paleobiology research. Thank you so much for being here, Ashley. I will let you take it from here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. All right. Can you guys see the PowerPoint okay?
Yes, it looks great.
Perfect. All right. So just like that lovely introduction said, my name is Ashley, and I am a response dispatcher for the Marine Mammal Center, and specifically our response program here on Maui. And we're just going to take a very brief, because this presentation could last for weeks, I'm sure, overlook of the program and the efforts that not only our organization, but many others are helping with. So the Marine Mammal Center, if you haven't heard of us, is the world's largest marine mammal hospital and education facility. Our headquarters, if you want to call it that, is in Sausalito, California, where they do lots and lots of outreach, education, veterinary externships, and lots of rescue efforts for all kinds of pinnipeds up there on the California coast. Our organization is a nonprofit. We have about 100 paid staff. And as you can see, we heavily rely on volunteers. We have about 1,300 of them associated with the organization right now. And in Sausalito, they typically receive about 100,000 annual visitors to the hospital. So within California, there's about 600 miles of coastline that they cover and respond to. There's, of course, the headquarters there at Sausalito. We also have Northern Range operations up there in the coast, Monterey Bay operations, and San Luis operations. And then you can see our lovely Hawaiian map here on the bottom. We have our main operation in Hawaii on the Kona coast of the Big Island, and that is where our Monk Seal Hospital, Cape Kaiola, is located. And we also perform response on Big Island and on Maui. So here at the Marine Mammal Center, we're trying to accomplish and make a couple of things a reality. We are, of course, guided and inspired by a shared vision of a healthy ocean for marine mammals and humans alike. And our goals are to help advance global ocean conservation through marine mammal rescue, rehabilitation, scientific research, and education. We had very, very, very humble beginnings here at the Marine Mammal Center. So you can see here in the 70s and the 80s, a little bit like the Wild West. They were using anything and everything they could find that holds water to help rehabilitate pinniped species. So got a couple, looks like sea lions here. And then to today, where we have a much more expansive hospital that is much more official and much more geared and equipped to help with pinniped rehab. We also introduced the Monterey Bay operations in 2001, the San Luis operations in 2005, and our Hawaii operations in 2014. So of course, like I mentioned before, there's a couple different avenues that we take to help make that mission and that vision a reality. So our goals are always to rescue, rehab, research, and release. And there are many different ways that we try to make all of those things come together and work. So for education, both in California and on Big Island, we have very well-developed education departments. Maui, we're still working on building that. We celebrated our first anniversary on Maui in April. So we're still, building our program here and trying to, develop things as time goes by. But on Big Island, they have great education programs. We have developed Monk Seal curriculum for many of the public schools there. And they also weave a lot of cultural aspects into that curriculum itself. So it's a great way of addressing all of those things in one go. We also do presentations at the hospital, and the kids will also get to participate and learn about rescue and rehab. And if you are an educator, we do have an education portal on our main website, which is marinemammalcenter.org. So you can actually access that, see any of our online learning resources. We have a couple of different curriculum things you can look at, some activities. So it is kind of cool if that's something that you would like to implement into any of your studies or just learn on your own. And to give you an idea of some of the range of patients that we get in California, here are a couple of different examples of species. So we, of course, have those eared seals or sea lions, California sea lions, Steller sea lions, a couple of different seal species, sea otters, occasionally dolphins will need rehabilitation, and then whales are more of a wild kind of intervention with disentanglement and things like that. So unfortunately, we don't have a facility where we can treat whales at the moment, but we do try to help and do whatever we can for them in their home environment. And just to kind of show you how we've grown over the years, this is a summary of the live patients that we've admitted from 1975 to 2020. It varies year to year, as you can see, but there's definitely been an increase, and part of that is an increase in our own capacity to treat more patients, but also as awareness builds, we're getting more reports of seals who need care. And that leads me to our Hawaii hospital, which is Ke Kaiola. That translates to the healing sea. It is a hospital that treats the most endangered seal in the United States. So this facility has a couple of different components. It is much smaller than our California campus for a couple of reasons. One, we're just a smaller operation here in Hawaii, and we have less patients to treat than they do in California. We have several different pools, and they utilize a couple different features. There's shallow haul out areas to help mimic coming out on the beach or hauling out on rocks. If we have more than one patient, we do have other pools in the back where we can quarantine those animals and see if they have anything that they could transmit to our current patients. And we even have a small little pool that has live fish, so we can use that to help with foraging behavior. So of course, here on Hawaii, we're going to be treating the Hawaiian monk seal. Hawaiian name is llio holo uaua. They are the only pinniped species in Hawaii. They are an endangered species as well as an endemic marine mammal here on Hawaii, and also the state mammal of Hawaii. And I have a little video here, hopefully it plays well, I'm crossing everything, that just kind of explains the need and why Ke Kaiola was created.
Well, work with the Hawaiian monk seals is really important because Hawaiian monk seals are critically endangered. There are only just over 1,000 animals left. And there are 3 species, the Hawaiian monk seal, the Caribbean monk seal, and the Mediterranean monk seal. And the Caribbean monk seal has already gone extinct. The Mediterranean monk seal is now at about 400 animals. Currently, the Hawaiian monk seal is our sort of best chance of saving not just a species, but a genus as well. It helps that they're also charismatic, charming, fun animals with a sense of humor. So Ke Kaiola is really our place on the Big Island at Kona, where we treat, we heal seals, we send them back out. I've worked at the Mammal Center for over 20 years, and we spend a lot of time here, not just myself, but all the staff, the volunteers, everyone who comes here, working to save the lives of individual elephant seals, Pacific harbor seals, other phocids that are similar to Hawaiian monk seals but not endangered. So it's really fantastic to be able to take everything that we've learned from those animals to help an endangered species, that really we're not just saving individuals, but we're also saving a population, a species, or a genus.
Always fun to see those monk seals moving and grooving, and I'm I don't know, I was very surprised to hear monk seals the first time. I don't know if they sound a little different than you were picturing. But just like we mentioned before and was mentioned in the video, Hawaiian monk seals are the most endangered seal or sea lion in the United States. There's estimated to be about 1,600 individuals in the world. All of them are going to be in the Hawaiian archipelago. We have about 80% of the population in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, so about 1,200 individuals, and the remainder 400 or 20% of that population is going to be in the main Hawaiian Islands. So just to give a little background on some of their biology and behaviors, monk seals are considered mostly solitary. They will, of course, interact with other seals if they come across them, but that's also part of where they got their name from, monk seal. If you think of a literal monk, they're alone quite a bit. Their lifespan ranges between 25 to 30 years, and reproduction is going to start between 5 and 10 years of age. Gestation will be around 11 months, so just under a year. When those pups are born, they'll be between 25 to 30 pounds, and they'll nurse from mom for an average of 7 weeks on a beach or a rocky shore, wherever she has decided to haul out. This is a big deal because she's going to be fasting during this period, and you can literally see the energy transfer occurring over the 7 weeks as she is giving her milk to, feed her pup. That pup will gain weight and she will lose weight since she is fasting. And towards the end of that 7 weeks, you can really tell that, with all that weight that she's lost, she's given that to her pup. And then weaning will begin when they're around 110 to 175 pounds. And at that point, that pup will be on its own. Mom will leave, and this animal now is equipped with enough blubber to start foraging by itself. And speaking of foraging, so their diet consists of many things. They are considered generalist feeders. So if it fits in their mouth and they can catch it, generally they'll eat it. So that can range from different species of fish, crustaceans, crabs, lobsters, sea cucumbers, squid, octopi, all different kinds of things they can snack on. They will be found foraging near at the seafloor. The majority of their dives are going to be less than 300 feet, which is still extremely impressive. And those dives will last for an average of 6 to 8 minutes. Now, as we saw, the population can kind of be divided into 2 different areas, and each of those subpopulations, if you will, does face different threats. So the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, are uninhabited by people, so different kind of threats that they face in that area. Food limitation is one, competition for food. There is a significant amount of shark predation, especially with tiger sharks. They cannot escape humans completely, though. They still have a threat of getting entangled in trash or marine debris. There's always going to be male seal aggression and loss of habitat through climate change. And then in the main islands, fishery interactions are a huge part of that. So meaning they can get entangled in monofilament. Netting can also prove an entanglement hazard, and they can also swallow hooks, entanglement in marine debris, toxoplasmosis, which is actually from cat feces. And if it's concentrated and exposed to any individual seals, they can actually contract that, and it can be lethal. There are human-seal interactions, which kind of tie into intentional killing as well. Now, having said that, there is a good amount of conservation efforts to help prevent these threats from happening in the first place and help reverse any damage caused by these threats. And it literally takes a village. There's so many wonderful partners that we have and that we work with and that have helped us, especially on Maui, get established and start this program. NOAA was actually running the hotline before we started last year. So they've been just so great and valuable in helping us learn, how to do that on this island. Also, there's going to be summer field camps in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, efforts to vaccinate seals against the morbillivirus, which is comparable to the measles in humans. We also have, of course, have our hospital on Big Island, Keikaiola, and there are increasing marine protected areas and habitat restoration. And then education goes hand in hand with conservation and research. If people don't know what they can do to help or know that there's a problem, then that's not going to help us in our efforts. So island-wide response networks on all of our major islands. We also have a barbless hook project that's run through the Department of Aquatic Resources to help provide fishers with a safer alternative. We also have lots of education and outreach programs, resources for the public, and our signage on beaches, which also includes the signs that we use in our seal resting areas. So Kekai Ola, kind of jumping over to our hospital, it translates to the healing sea. It was opened in July of 2014 on the Kona coast. Since 2014, we have rescued over 2% of the entire population, which may not sound like a lot, but combine that with conservation efforts with everyone, we've actually all been able to help 30% of the total population survive. So that is a huge amount. That is great to see conservation in action and see how our efforts are resulting in, an increase in population. And over the years since we opened, just again, kind of like we showed with the main California hospital, our patient numbers definitely vary from year to year. Again, that can contribute to awareness. The more people who know to call the hotline, the more seals that we can treat and that we can give help to. So within the Kekai circle, we basically have 3 different branches. So we have animal care, response, and of course our education, school and youth programs. So animal care, again, we very heavily rely on volunteers to help with this. You can see a couple of pictures here, weighing diets for our seals. You can see these crowding boards on the right. Those are very important tools. One, it helps us kind of corral seals and give them a direction to go in. It also provides a barrier between volunteers, humans, and seals. But we also can use it as a way of hiding ourselves behind those crowding boards and trying to prevent as much habituation as possible. And we got a little video here of some monk seals being returned to the wild. Okay. Oh. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Sorry. There's always something that happens. Okay, there we go. So that video one is just super adorable. I always leave that into the presentation because I think it's just really fun to watch. Release days are always some of our favorite days because we get to see kind of this rescue effort and conservation effort full circle, see these animals get a second chance at life. What's also cool in that video is you can see all of their release, gear that they have. They have tags on their hind flippers, which we will utilize in identification of that animal. Some of them have bleaches, which we create a bleach solution very similar to what you will use to dye your own hair to help with identification as well. That is temporary, and once they have their catastrophic molt, will no longer be there. And they also have a satellite tracker in some cases, and that's going to help track their movements temporarily just to see how they're adjusting after release. So the second branch that we have is response, and that is what I am personally involved with. So this is really important, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's response to hotline calls. So I will monitor the response phone, any calls that we get. I can dispatch volunteers who are awesome to those areas to help either create a seal resting area like we see on the right if it's a very heavily populated beach and is necessary. Sometimes all that is needed is identification of that animal, getting some photo ID, getting some pictures. That's actually incredibly important because we want to have some kind of history on this animal so we can see what their body condition is like, look at that over time, and see if there's anything that's changing. We also heavily rely on outreach. So just spreading awareness. Again, the more that people know, the more they can help. We want to get the public involved. We want them to feel like you can give these animals the space and capacity that they need to rest and recover, and also advocating for the seals. You know, they can't unfortunately talk for themselves. So that is something that we do for them, and to help make sure that there's as much awareness as possible. And on those lines, we want to get as involved with the community as possible. It's very important to us that we weave ourselves into the fabric of the local community. On Big Island, right now the general public tours aren't happening quite as much, but we are definitely relying on school groups, other different kinds of institutions can do tours at the hospital and see the patients from the observation room. And here on Maui, we do have had a couple of different opportunities to table at events and festivals. We were a part of the Honolulu Festival last year. We had a table at the Whale Tales event, a couple of Earth Day festivals, and we were actually very lucky to get a spot with Hawaiian Airlines. So that is actually on their app now. So if people explore that a little bit more and see their travel pono program, there is a video of monk seals and how to safely observe monk seals. And then of course our seal resting areas are a great opportunity for education. If you're on the beach and you see that, we are always going to try to have a staff or volunteer member out there to help answer questions and explain what you're seeing. And then again, more on Big Island, we're working on this on Maui, lots of targeted school and youth programs. Really important to get our youth involved and let them know what's in their backyard and what's coming out of the ocean and how they can help protect those species. And now we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about a story that's very close to my heart, and also is a little bit closer to us here on Maui because it did happen on Maui. So we actually rescued, and we meaning Marine Mammal Center, NOAA, it's again, like I said, it takes a village, a young subadult male last April. His identification number is RL72. It's a little hard to see from the photos, but he does have a good bit of monofilament hanging out of his mouth there. So that indicated that he had most likely swallowed a hook, and it was quite a bit further than we would have liked to see. So he was admitted to Cape Kaiola on April 7th, 2022. So we have a very dramatic picture here of what they used to represent his rescue. And then this picture more on the right is his arrival there. So not exactly happy to have gone through that process, but he was in good body condition, very alert, and we were very, very hopeful. So we had to go through a couple of different procedures to determine how bad this hook was lodged in RL72's esophagus. It did take quite a bit of effort and time, and a combination between many different organizations to help make this possible. But in the end, it did take 3 separate procedures to remove this hook. You can see on that photo on the right, that is RL72 getting prepped for surgery. He does have a little bit of a scar, just like many of us have if we have surgery from that incision, and they did have to shave his fur around that area to have a nice clean entrance. And you can see the hook that was removed. It was really deeply embedded in the tissue, and it was a very complicated procedure, but he was also our first surgical patient. So he really represents a lot of different successes for us as a hospital and successes for, the monk seal program all around. And this was his prep to get released. Looks like we got more of a smile here. He did get a bleach mark just to help if he hauled out, it was a little bit easier to spot him using that bleach mark. Had some tags on his hind flipper, and he also received a satellite tracker, which you can see being applied in that middle photo. And this is his release day. So he's here in the seal cage. You can see has some crowding boards here to help make that path to the ocean a little more clear. And off he went. So since he had that satellite tag, we were able to track some of his first migrations. So this first kind of set of data showed that he just kind of went around Big Island, went to a couple sides of the island there. His second migration, he actually kind of did a little bit of a tour on Maui and ended up on Molokai. His third migration, he jumped from Molokai to Maui, and this picture on the right is personally very special to me. RL-72 was the first seal that I responded to when I first started this position, and I took that picture. So he had hauled out on the North Shore here on Maui, and it was the first time we had spotted him in person since he had been released at that point. And his last migration is he hopped from Maui back to Big Island, and he's been regularly spotted since, and he's still happy and healthy. So what I love his story. He's just a very special patient. I think he holds a big place in all of our hearts. So it's definitely a success story and showing how, sometimes you just have to come up with different ways and avenues to treat animals and make sure they get what's needed. So yeah. So if you would like to get involved with our program, there's a couple different ways to do that. We are always looking for volunteers on all parts of the island. This role will basically consist of creating a seal resting area, or an SRA, that consists mostly of signs, sometimes rope, to help as a visual, to help give seals the space and the capacity to rest. This will also involve identifying seals, assessing their, everyday behavior, educating the public, and in some cases, rescuing and transporting. So if you're interested, my email will be at the end of this presentation, so feel free to email me. And we do also have a paid internship available for this summer season. So if you know of anyone who's interested here on island, we definitely want to extend that opportunity to as much people as possible. We're looking for someone between 8 and 12 hours a week. Again, this is paid, and it's very flexible, so we can work with people's schedules if they're in school or have another job. And of course, just in general, ways you can help monk seals, call the hotline anytime you see a seal. If it's in the water, if it's on the sand, if you see it for 2 seconds, please call in those sightings. Our Maui hotline number is there on the top. And if you're on any other island, you can call the statewide NOAA hotline there to report sightings on anywhere else. And in general, just give our seals space. We want to stay at least 50 feet away from them so we don't disturb them. If you have any dogs on the beach, please keep them on leash if you're near a seal. That's for the protection of both your animal and of the seal, because we don't want either party getting hurt. And I just want to end on the spot that we did with Hawaiian.
My life is my family, my kids going to the beach, surfing together, seeing the marine life, and knowing, all right, when we're done here, let's do our part, pay back, and try help out. What's fantastic about Kona is the clarity of the water, which gives us a unique opportunity to see a ton of sea life, fish, green sea turtles, even the occasional monk seal, which is really cool. We love where we live. We feel really blessed to live in such a fantastic place. It almost surprises me how much we want to share it, so long as we don't do any harm to it. It's a unique dichotomy that we have of wanting to share the islands as well as protect them. The Marine Mammal Center operates the only hospital purely dedicated to the endangered Hawaiian monk seal. And it just happens to be like literally in our backyard and less than a quarter mile from our family's favorite surf break, so it was a natural fit. I work as an animal care volunteer. I think it's important to educate visitors coming to Hawaii about the endangered monk seal because it poses an opportunity for them to learn that they can play a role in protecting it. It's amazing seeing an endangered species. She's working her way this way, it's cool. They need their space. What can we do to protect it so that you can someday show your son or daughter a Hawaiian monk seal on the same very beach? That's what I want to be able to do. I've been a pilot for Hawaiian Airlines for 10 years now. The fulfillment you get out of a job bringing happy visitors and happy kama'aina back home to Hawaii really makes you feel good. All of the Hawaiian ohana loves the feeling of giving back, of sharing. It's important that all of us each play a role protecting endangered species that we have. Hawaiian plays a critical role in helping get that messaging out to make visitors feel they can protect the sensitive wildlife that we have. We love sharing aloha, we love sharing the islands, and I think people want to give back to a special place, and I think it's important to them. Future generations will be able to experience the same Hawaii.
All right, and with that, we're at the end of our presentation. Again, if you have any questions, of course, I think we're monitoring the chat right now for that. This is my email if you're interested in volunteering or in that internship, please feel free to shoot me an email. And of course, we have our hotline there on the bottom, just one last time, in case you haven't gotten that number already. But I'll go ahead and stop sharing, and I will pass the time back over to our lovely MCs.
Thank you, Ashley. That was a really great presentation and very insightful. I also loved the release video of the two young monk seals. Pretty adorable. It's always a very special connection when you are around wildlife here, especially monk seals. I've been in the water with them. They're very sneaky. They will come up and out of nowhere. So it's great to see the work that you're doing to protect such a charismatic species and something that's very important here to the culture and in Hawaii in general. So thank you for everything that you do. It's very much appreciated. We do have time for some questions. If you're still on and around and have questions, go ahead and use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and I will go through them. If you are viewing on Facebook Live, you can go ahead and write in a comment, and then it'll be relayed to us so that we can ask our speaker. So we do have one question, a couple questions coming into the Q&A already, so I'll just go ahead and start reading them out loud for everyone. We have aloha, mahalo for the wonderful presentation. A quick question for volunteers. To volunteer in Maui or Big Island, I'm not sure if this is a question. Are you required to be a resident for more than 6 months? And would you allow someone to commute twice a week if they could from Oahu to Big Island?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So we do ask and kind of require that people be a resident of any of the, between Maui or any of the Hawaiian Islands for at least 6 months out of the year. So if you're only here half time, that's just enough. That's fine. We do have a pretty lengthy training process. So depending, like part of it's online and part of it is in person, but that's something, we could talk about and work out. So I still encourage you to, email me and we can talk further about that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Someone said wonderful presentation. So great job.
Thank you.
And how much does a full-grown monk seal typically weigh?
Great question. Average is between 400 and 600 pounds. We do have some individuals who are bigger than that for, different reasons. We have a female on Big Island who's, I believe, around 1,000 pounds. So that's not typical, but, just like with humans, there's some who are outside of the average.
Wow. And you may have said this in the presentation, so I apologize if I missed it, but how many seals are usually in the hospital at one time?
That varies greatly. I believe, and I'm not 100% sure, so I can always find someone who knows the exact answer. I believe the most we've had at one time is 12. So that's quite a bit. That's a full house for sure. But it can range anywhere from one seal to, anywhere between that. And we're going to release them when it's best for them. They're not all going to get released at the same time. It just depends. So yeah, we try to work around what's best for the individual.
Great. Thank you. That was my own question. It looked like, okay, this is a question from the Q&A box. It looked like the rescue numbers were up significantly in 2022. What was the reason for that, if you know?
Again, it's just a combination of things. I think part of it is just awareness is increasing. More people are out, more people are, back traveling and out and about, and able to see the animals more. So the more that reports that we get, the more animals we can respond to. But there's many, many different factors. And part of that is also, NOAA's efforts going out to the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, rescuing seals from those areas and bringing them to Keikaiola. Things are getting back after 2020 and COVID too. So some, these programs are more in full swing too. So that, can't say for sure, but most likely had an effect on those numbers being higher.
Great, thank you. And who monitors the tracker once you release the captured seal or rescued seal? And will it become public?
Ooh, that is a good question. I don't really know all the answers to that. So that's something, again, give me your email and we can find that out for you. Believe it's a little bit of a team effort between NOAA and a couple other nonprofits with tracking that. We don't necessarily make that public knowledge right away. We will share, like you saw, some of those maps and presentations and things like that, but we don't necessarily want to share those locations live because we wanted to make sure those animals have, again, the space and the capacity to rest. We don't want a bunch of people showing up and impacting that animal's survival chances in any way.
Right. Yeah, we want to give them space in their environment. Yeah, very, very cool. I love seeing the maps of where they move because it's like, that they travel in between islands, but actually seeing them make that journey, making a crossing across those channels, just like, oh yeah, no big deal. And it's really cool. So thanks for all of that data and sharing and communicating that with us.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not seeing any other questions in the Q&A right now. And I haven't gotten anything from Facebook Live as of yet. But all of these presentations are recorded and they are shared again through our Facebook and through our YouTube. And if people do have questions, they think of something later, you can always send emails to Ashley, rewind back and look at her phone number or info@mauireefs.org, and we can make that connection as well. But again, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. We still have some time, but I'll go ahead and wrap us up. And if questions do come in, feel free to type your response in there. But thank you so much for all of the work that you do and for being here. And we're just really grateful to have you.
Well, thanks for having me. I always tell people I'm the lucky one because I get paid to work, with seal conservation. That's pretty cool. So thank you
Yeah,
guys
it
for joining.
is cool. Thank you. Yeah, I will go ahead and close us out. So thank you to our audience and everyone here for attending Maui Nui Marine Resource Council's Know Your Ocean Speaker Series, which is sponsored by the County of Maui. Our next Know Your Ocean Speaker Series event will be held on Wednesday, July 7th at 12 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time via Zoom with Dr. Simon Freeman. His talk will be Signals in Noise, Adventures in Making Use of Natural Sounds Underwater. So please note the updated time for this event, as Dr. Freeman will be joining us virtually from the East Coast of the United States. If you want to learn more about talks like this and how to sign up for future talks, you can sign up for our monthly e-newsletter, Reef and Brief, at mauireefs.org. Another update for our oysters, they're still working hard in Maui Bay to filter sediment out of the water column, and we're still working to analyze that data for you all. A single adult oyster can filter between 40 and 50 gallons of water per day. You can adopt an oyster for just $7 to support our work in Maui. Again, if you've missed some or all of tonight's presentation, you'll be able to view it on Facebook Live on our Maui Nui Marine Resource Council Facebook page, and it will also be posted on our YouTube channel, Maui Reefs. Please follow us on social media as well for updates and news, and sign up for Reef and Brief, our monthly e-newsletter. And last but not least, we want to thank all of our sponsors and supporters who are making our work possible. And we also wish to thank individual donors like you for attending these presentations and spending your time with us once a month. Mahalo for making a difference. And mahalo again for joining us. Have a wonderful evening. Again, we'll see you next month at 12 p.m. July 7th. Aloha.